Hi, folks. How's it going? Sean here. I'm going to talk about the number system today. And a bunch of students have asked me about it over the past few weeks. So I thought I would do a lesson on it. I know there have been numerous videos on it before. I thought I would just try to go a little more in depth and talk about how I think about it. One thing that came to mind is the analogy of complex versus complicated. So the title of today's video is The Number System Complex but Not Complicated. So a good running definition of those two would be if you take, if you take a guitar, like if I took this guitar and I took all the parts off, took all the tuning heads off, pulled the nut off, the neck detached from the body, take out all the electronics, disassemble them, I'd have all the parts in front of me and then I could actually put them back together again. Versus if I was making a dish which had three ingredients: flour, egg, let's say water, flour, eggs, and water, and you mix them together. Once they're mixed, you cannot take them apart. You can't separate them. And the way that fits this video, or at least how I think of that, is the number system is sort of baked into how I think and hear music. It helps me understand things I listen to. It helps me write music better, helps me improvise. So it's how I hear music and how I understand it. So I thought I would try to share some of that with you. So let's get into it, shall we? Okay, so the number system. What exactly is the number system? Well, there's two parts to it. There's a number part, basically numbers 1 through 7, and there's a chord part of it. So chord suffix, meaning major, minor, augmented, diminished, or you could have sevenths as well. But there's a number and an interval. An interval, by the way, is a measurement of the distance, the measurement of the musical distance between two notes. And the chord type obviously is like triads or seventh chords and such. Then this is kind of interesting. So there's been a lot of videos about this one, the Nashville number system. People have different ways of doing this. Like the classical guys have been doing this for a very long time, and I'm not exactly sure on the history about these two. And honestly, I'm not even sure if this one is a thing, the jazz one, but that's kind of how I think about it. All that to say that really where they differ is some people like to use Roman numerals this is when it's written, okay? When it's verbal, people usually just talk in straight numbers because you can't really verbalize Roman numerals because you're just saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But when you write it, Roman numerals versus Arabic, meaning just regular numbers. Some people like to use only uppercase Roman numerals. Some people like to use upper and lowercase. Upper for major chords, lower for minor chords. And then this one, implicit versus explicit. Some people, when, for example, they're calling out chords, and I've had this a few times. I'm in a band. I actually was at a church I was playing at, and the music director was calling out like 1 or 5 or 3 or 6. And what they meant was we all had to know what key we were in. We all had to know the functions of the chords that were called. So that's implicit. It was implied what those chords were versus explicit. Whereas if somebody was saying 1 major or 4 minor or 6 minor or flat 6 major, so it's a little bit more information. And sometimes you tailor the way that you're going to do it for the situation. If it's verbal on stage, the less you have to say, the better. So the more, I guess, the implicit. And sometimes when it's a more complicated chart, lots of chromatic bass movement and non-diatonic chords, explicit is helpful because you need to give some more information. And then this one, chord function versus no chord function. Some songs are in minor keys, and some people don't like to reference the chords in a minor key. They like to keep it just major, always in reference to the major. I kind of fall within, I like to know a bit about what the chords are doing. So if I'm in a minor key, I will talk about 1 minor and all the chords are related to that versus using the relative major and relating all the chords to that. I will give examples of these, so this hopefully will make more sense. What can you use the number system for? Well, memorizing and transposing chord sequences. I should also say if you're a acoustic guitar player and you're playing in a key that is not guitar friendly, sometimes you might have to take a song in D flat, for example, and put it in the key of G because the chords in G are a lot more friendly, and you would just put a capo somewhere, or maybe you would transpose it to the key of C and put a capo on that one because the chords in the key of C and G, you don't need to play as many bar chords. And then this is a big thing for me, ear training. Learning to hear music, learning to hear what does the 2 chord sound like? What does the 6 chord sound like? What does the 4/7 sound like in a blues? That type of thing. So it's something that I understand, I use, I hear. It's all connected. And this part, when I look at songs, as I have over the years, if I'm transcribing a song or if I'm just trying to look over a song that maybe somebody else has written, I'm trying to figure out, like, why is this song so good? I'll look at the chord part of it and give a harmonic analysis for myself and try to identify how the chords are working. But that also feeds into when I'm soloing, because I do a lot of improvisation. If I have a sequence of chords I'm looking at, I want to know a bit about what notes are appropriate or what notes are in play. When I'm writing a melody, same thing. If I have a chord sequence that I've written, it helps me to choose my melody notes accordingly. And just harmonic movement. Again, that's something that I might hear when I am writing. Sometimes I write away from the instrument. I like to have just a piece of manuscript paper and sketch out some chords sometimes. I've written a lot of songs like that. It helps to, when I hear something, it's something that I'm paying attention to, how the chords are moving. Okay, so moving on. What do you need to know to use the number system or to understand it? So you got to know a little bit of theory, but really it's just the major scale. Like let's just say as a theory teacher for many years, I can't stress enough, if you know the major scale really well, like your I don't know, 4 times tables. So much of music theory is based on just that. If you know the major scale, you can do chords, you can do intervals, you can do tensions. Like, so much of it just comes back to how well you know your major scale. And if you know your major scale, minor scales are really not that much different. So there's that. So all 12 keys, major and minor. And then intervals, which really are, if you know major scales, you kind of know intervals. Because like and I'll get into this in a second, but all the intervals in a major scale, they're all major, like major second, major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, etc. Then all the other scales are just slight variations of that. And the last thing, you got to know the chords in a major key. So once you know the notes, you have to know the chords that fall inside of that key. And what that is to say that all the chords in a key contain only notes in the key. That's why they are diatonic. They're in the key. Okay, so we're going to test how well do you know your key signatures. So we'll start with an easy one. Here we have 7 numbers, okay? We're going to list major scales alphabetically, stepwise, one by one, okay? So the key of C, ready? So C is 1, D is 2, E is 3, F is 4, G is 5, A is 6, B is 7. Okay, moving along to the next key, key of A. So there are 3 sharps in the key of A. Here we go. A is 1, B is 2, C sharp 3, D is 4, E is 5, F sharp, G sharp. A little more sharps, key of B. How many sharps in the key of B? Well, there's 5. Here we go. B is 1, C sharp 2, D sharp 3, E is 4, F sharp 5, G sharp 6, A sharp 7. Okay, so however if you could memorize the circle of fifths, or some people do major scales, they do it by intervals, so like tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. Whatever gets it done, man, like you just have to think of it quickly. It doesn't really matter how you do it. Okay, and then we've got some flat keys here. Guitar players love flat keys. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Key of F. Key of F has 1 flat in it. Here we go. F is 1, G is 2, A is 3, B flat's 4, C is 5, D is 6, E is 7. E flat. How many flats in the key of E flat? 3. E flat is 1, F is 2, G is 3, A flat 4, B flat 5, 6 is C, 7 is D. Key of D flat. How many flats in the key of D flat? 5. I feel like Vanna White here. So D flat is 1. Do we have an E flat? Yes, we do. Do we have an F? Yes, we do. Do we have a G flat? Yes, we do. A flat. B flat. C. Okay. So those are, I didn't do all of them, obviously. I did 6 total, 3 flat sharp keys and 3 flat keys. Moving on to some minor keys. Now this is, should preface this because depending on who you are and what kind of music you write and what circles you are in, there are more than one kind of minor keys. There's natural minor, there's harmonic minor, there's melodic minor, there's Phrygian minor, there's Dorian minor, there's all kinds. So most of the pop rock world tends to fall in the natural minor thing. And I'd say it's maybe a mix of natural minor and harmonic minor is the most popular. But really, I mean, if you do the interval thing, then it's not really an issue. But anyway, the difference between a major key and a minor key is you take the major scale, you lower the third, you lower the sixth, you lower the seventh, and that's your minors. That's your natural minor scale. Yes, you can do relative minor, so like A minor is relative to C major, C minor is relative to E flat major. Again, it doesn't really matter how you do it as long as you can think. And if you're going to think in minor keys, you got to know that 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7. Okay, so with that, we're going to list the notes in an A minor scale. So we have A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, D is 4, E is 5, F is 6, G is 7. Now, the flat here and here and here does not mean that this is going to be C flat and F flat and G flat. It means you take the major scale and you lower the third note and you lower the sixth and the seventh. In the key of A, the C is sharp. So when you lower that a half step, you get C natural. When you lower F sharp, it's F. When you lower G sharp, it's G. Okay, a few more. C minor, so C is 1, D is 2, E flat 3, F is 4, G is 5, A flat, B flat. Moving on, key of B minor. So if you want to think in your mind, you like relative minor, relative major. B minor is relative to D major, so it's the notes in D starting on B. So B, C sharp, D. E is 4, F sharp is 5, G is 6, A is 7. One more, key of F sharp. Now if you do a major, this has 6 sharps in it. So F sharp would be 1, G sharp is 2, A sharp, but it's lowered a half step, so A, B is 4, C sharp is 5, flat 6 is D, flat 7 is E. And there we go. And the last tool, the diatonic chords. So I'm not going to go into like how I know this, but you might have to just take my word for it. Earlier I said the diatonic chords are chords that are made of notes in the key. And that's why they are diatonics. If something's in the key, they are diatonic. Now, these chords could be triads, or they could be seventh chords. I'm going to just talk about triads for now. But here's the pattern. And you could kind of group these. 1, 4, 5 are major. 2, 3, and 6 are minor. And 7 is diminished. Now, in the first line, I did all uppercase. And I wrote the chord quality. The dash is the symbol for minor. MAJ obviously for major, and the circle for diminished. For the classical guys, they would probably do this. Uppercase 1 for major, 2 and 3 are minor, so lowercase. 4 and 5 are major, so upper, and 6 is minor. And 7 technically has got a minor third in it with a diminished fifth. And then this would be kind of like the Nashville one, just numbers, straight up numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but you have to know this. This does not work if you do not know that the 2 is minor, 3 is minor, 4 is major. Now, I should also say this works for simple music, okay? Because music is not all based in the major scale. We have modulations, we have chords that do different things to add chromaticism to compositions, but, most of the music that they probably do in Nashville is generally based on the major scale, so it works pretty nicely. But when it's a little bit more intricate, then you got to spell things out a little bit more. So we're going to do the chords in the key of C. Okay, so we're taking these and applying them to the notes in C. So C major, C is the first note, so it's major. The 2 minor is D minor, 3 is E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished. Okay, so E major. First we have to know that there's 4 sharps in the key of E, and then we have to line up the chords with the notes. So E major is 1, F sharp minor is 2, G sharp minor is 3, A is major is 4, B major 5, C sharp minor, and D sharp diminished. Key of F, we know 1 flat is a B flat. So F major is 1, G minor 2, A minor 3, B flat major 4, C major 5, D minor 6, E diminished is 7. Last one, A flat major, 4 flats in the key of A flat. So A flat major is 1, B flat minor 2, C minor 3, D flat major 4, E flat major 5, F minor, and G diminished. Okay. Now we'll do some minor keys. So we have to take the intervals. We have a lowered third, lowered sixth, lowered 7. The order now is different. Okay, so the 1, the 4, and the 5 now are minor. The 3 and the 6 and the 7 are major, and the 2 is diminished. So in A minor is 1, B diminished 2, C major 3 or flat 3, 4 minor is D minor, 5 minor is E minor, flat 6 major, F major, flat 7 major is G major. A few more. C minor. Okay, C minor is 1, D diminished 2, E flat major 3, F minor 4, G minor 5, A flat major 6, B flat major 7. I'm trying to go through these quick. If you're going to play this and like use it on stage, if somebody's calling chords out, like you got to think fast, man. So F sharp minor, key of F sharp minor is 1, G sharp diminished, A major, B minor, C sharp minor, D major, E major. Last one, B flat minor, so B flat minor is 1, C diminished is 2, D flat major 3, E flat minor, F minor, G flat major, A flat major. Okay, and there sometimes are chromatic notes. So this is what I was talking about. Things that not all music has just chords in the major scale. Pop songs too, like they do cool things. They have like chromatic passing chords or some modal interchange chords and stuff like that. So you need a way to identify those chords that are not in the key. Okay, so we are going to do the C chromatic scale. So what you could maybe do is in C chromatic, if you write out the notes in C, C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. So any 2 notes with a whole step between them has a note in between. So between C and D is C sharp. That's sharp 1. Sharp 2 is D sharp. 3 and 4 are already a half step apart, so you don't need to sharp E or flat the F because they are each other's sharps and flats. It's only ones where there's a tone between 2 notes. So sharp 4 is F sharp, sharp 5 G sharp, sharp 6 A sharp. Okay, moving on. This is sorry, I'm not sure how that happened. E major. So same thing. We're going to do E, F sharp is 2, G sharp 3, A is 4, B is 5, C sharp 6, D sharp 7, and we'll fill in the blanks. Sharp 1 is E sharp, not F, E sharp. I know that's kind of crazy, but you need a way to distinguish how a note's actually functioning. We'll get into a little bit of that. Sharp 2, F double sharp. Yes, F double sharp. Again, you need a way to separate like a flat 3 or a sharp 9 and a minor third kind of thing. So there it is. Sharp 4, A sharp. Sharp 5 is B sharp. Yes, I know B sharp, not C, but B sharp. And sharp 6, you guessed it, C double sharp. Okay, next key, E flat major. So we could write out the major scale. So E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, C, and D. And then the chromatics between sharp 1. That just means raise the first note a half step. So we actually have E. F raised is F sharp. That's sharp 2. 3 and 4 we don't touch. Sharp 4 is A natural. So if you have a natural note, or sorry, a flatted note, and you're raising it, it just negates the flat. Sharp 5 is B. Sharp 6, C sharp. Last one, key of A flat. So A flat's 1, B flat 2, C is 3, D flat 4, E flat 5, F, and G. Here we go with the chromatics. Sharp 1 is A, sharp 2 is B, 3 and 4 we don't touch. D flat is sharp 4 is D, sharp 5 E, sharp 6 F sharp. Okay, then we're going to do descending. So all of these are now using flats instead of sharps. Okay. So we're going backwards in the key of C. So we can do the same thing. C is 1, B is 7, A is 6, G is 5, F is 4, E is 3, D is 2. I think music's the only discipline I can think of where it has value in learning your alphabet backwards, or at least A to G. So flat 7 is B flat. Flat 6 is A flat. Flat 5, G flat. 4 and 3 we don't touch. There's a half step between them. Flat 3 is E flat. Flat 2 is D flat. Okay, a few more. Key of B. So B is 1. A sharp is 7. G sharp is 6. F sharp 5. 4 is E. D sharp 3. C sharp 2. Okay, and the chromatics, flat 7 is A. Flat 6 is G. Flat 5 is F. 4 and 3 we don't touch. Flat 3 is D. Flat 2 is C. 2 more. Key of G flat. Lots of flats in this. There are 6 flats in the key of G flat. So G flat is 1, F is 7, E flat 6, D flat 5, C flat is 4, B flat 3, 2 is A flat. I have to think about that just a little bit. F flat is your flat 7, E double flat is your flat 6, flat 5 is D double flat, 4 and 3 we don't touch. Flat 3 is B double flat. Flat 2, A double flat. Now, I know this is kind of like a fringe example, but it does not hurt to train your brain to be able to think of this stuff. If you can, it makes life so much easier for doing other things. All right, one more. Key of F sharp. Actually, that's the same as the key of G flat. They sound exactly the same, but just we're using sharp. It's like an enharmonic to G flat. So here we go. F sharp is 1, E sharp is 7, D sharp 6, C sharp 5, B is 4, A sharp 3, G sharp 2. And the chromatics, flat 7 is E, flat 6 D, flat 5 is C, flat 4 is B, flat 3 is A, flat 2 is G. Okay, so now we're going to move on to some chord progressions. Okay, so some of these I have given a key signature, some not. Here we have an example in the key of C. Okay, there's a clef, there's a time signature, and there's no key between those two things, so it's in the key of C. So if somebody was calling out these 1, 6, 4, 5, we'd have to make the calculation in our brain. Think of the notes in the key of C, think of what the 1 is, the 6 and the 4 and the 5, and then you have to know what quality these are. This is the implicit way. If you're writing, maybe you write down the actual function the explicit way, so the interval, the 1, and the type of chord, the major. So in the key of C, C major is 1, A minor is your 6 minor, your 4 major is F major, your 5 major is G major. Okay, next key. So here, a clef and a key and a time signature and 1 flat. So that's the key of F. So we have 1, 5, 6, 4. Okay, so we have to know 1 is major, 5 is major, 6 is minor, 4 is major, and we have to know what the notes are. So here we go. F major is 1, C major is 5, 6 minor is D minor, 4 is B flat major. Okay, next one. 4 sharps, that is the key of E. So if it was done on stage, you'd have to either know you're in the key of E or somebody would have to tell you they're in the key of E, because this does not work if you don't know the key, because all the numbers don't make any sense. So 4, 6, 1, 5. 4 is major, 6 is minor, 1 is major, 5 is major. Then you just got to plug in the notes. So A major is your 4, 6 minor is your 6 minor, C sharp minor. 1 major is E major, and 5 major is B. Notice this one does not start on the tonic, and it's not, chord progressions do not need to start on the one chord. They to make something in a key, it's really like what chord sounds like home. Okay, so it's not always a good idea to always think the first chord of the tune is the tonal center. Usually it is. Like in simple music, I'd say that is the case, but not always. Moving on, B flat. This one's in B flat minor. Now here we have some, this is where we have different ways of doing this. So some people do not like to think in minor. They would think in D flat major, which is the relative major of this. And you see here the so quote unquote Nashville numbers are not the same as the Roman numerals. So the Roman numerals are as if you were thinking B flat minor. The Nashville are as if you were thinking D flat major. Okay. Either way, the chords will be the same. Major, 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 major. Okay, this one, because if there's no change in the key, right? Like 6 is minor, so they just have to say 6. They don't have to quantify that it's minor. It's assumed that it's minor. Same with the 3. But in the explicit way, you have to say that. So here we go. B flat minor. The flat 6 is G flat major. The flat 7 is A flat major. The 1 minor is B flat minor. The 5 minor is F minor. 4 minor, E flat minor. 5 major is F major. And the 1 minor is B flat minor. So in this example, actually, we have two different 5 chords, 5 major and 5 minor. And same, if you're doing the Nashville way, it's 3 major and 3 minor and 3 major. So you can't just write 3 for both, because people, if you say 3, people are going to think you mean F minor. So when it switches to major, if you just say 3, they're going to keep playing F minor. So you got to quantify that it's major. Okay, so that's kind of a mix of harmonic minor and natural minor, like the 5 minors from natural minor, the 5 majors from harmonic. Okay, key of B. Now this one has some inversions. Okay, that's kind of nifty. We'll get to that. Key of B, got to think the notes in the key of B. There's 5 sharps, okay? And then we've got to line up the chords. So 2 minor is C sharp minor. Your 4 major is E major. 6 minor is G sharp minor. 5 major is F sharp major. Now this is an inversion. So the chord on the left, bass note on the right. This is why I like this way of doing it. This looks like a fraction, 4/6. I mean, I guess some people totally okay with it. I'm just not used to that. I prefer this. I like to have the chords telling me one thing and the bass notes saying another. What you see on the other side is the degree of the scale that the bass note is. Okay, the 4 chord with the 6th note of the key in the bass. So the 4 chord of B is E, and the 6th note of the key of E is G sharp. So we expect E over G sharp, and there we have it. All right, so moving on, the 5 chord right here, the 5 over 7. So the 5 chord of B is F sharp. The 7th note of B is A sharp. So we expect F sharp over A sharp. And there we have it. 1 major, B major. Okay, so either way, this way you have to say 4 over 6, 5 over 7, 1. Now I should also say that in my experience, when people are doing, if things are verbal, like they're calling out, in the rare event that somebody is calling out chords by number, often I remember this very clearly, actually, the MD would say 3. And at least in the praise and worship kind of music, you rarely hear a 3 minor. It's always like the 1 over 3. So I had to ask him, like, when you say 3, do you mean minor or inverted? And the answer was inverted. So again, it's hard to say like 1 over 3. So he'll just say 3, and we have to know it's like whatever the key is. Let's say it's the key of B, it would be B over D sharp. And often if it's 7, like almost 99.9999999% of the time, it's not a 7 diminished. What it really is the 5 chord with the 7 in the bass. So that's something that's also on the implicit side. You'd have to sort of know that beforehand. And if you don't, ask for clarification. Or if you're the one that's communicating to other people in your band, you got to communicate that I don't mean the 7 diminished. I mean the 5 chord with the 7 in the bass. Okay? Okay, so the key of E. 4 major 7. Now we have some 4-part harmonies here. So again, with the implicit, you would have to either communicate to the band that you mean 4-part harmonies all the way through, because otherwise, if you just say 4 or 6 or 2, the band's apt to play just triads. So if you want something like sevens, you'd have to say major 7, dominant 7, minor 7, or that kind of thing. But 4 major 7 is A major in the key of E. 6 7, okay, this is a chord that's not in the key, but it's related to the key. So in the key of E, that is C sharp 7. Again, this really looks so weird to me, 6 7. Some people totally dig that. I kind of like this one, just how I'm used to seeing it. That's a 2 7. So in the key of E, that's F sharp 7. And here we go, 2 7. So you'd have to use like sort of uppercase or like small 7, big 2 for the chord, small 7 for the chord quality. Okay, and then 5 7 in the key of E is B7. And the 6 minor 7 is C sharp minor 7. Flat 6 major. So a chord, again, not in the key. So whether you're doing the explicit or you can't just say 6, because number one, people think you mean C sharp. So you have to say flat 6 and then major 7. Sorry, that got a little smushed. But in the key of E, flat 6, major 7. The 6 is C sharp, so you lower it a half step. That's your flat 6. That's why we did the chromatics. And the chord quality is major 7. That doesn't change, so it's C major 7. Okay, so the final one, the key of A minor. I should have wrote minor, but this, take my word for it, I mean A minor. So again, the Roman and the so quote unquote Nashville number. It sounds like I'm ripping on the Nashville thing. It's just, again, it really just depends on what you like and how you want to do it in the situation. But I really like to know something about how the chords function. So if somebody says 6, but it's in a minor key, like that tells me nothing about. I'm expecting all the chords to sort of go home to the one chord, but if the song's in a minor key, they never do. So it doesn't help me if I have to improvise or if I'm going to do stuff with the chords, add some tensions and things like that. It's very helpful for me to know that 1 is actually A minor and not 6 in the key of C. Okay? So either way, explicit versus implicit, like if somebody was calling out these chords on stage, it would have to be discussed that we're talking about natural minor, and people would have to know, or you'd have to sort of talk about, if people didn't know, you'd have to tell them, okay, 1 minor, 2 diminished, just like we went through earlier. You'd have to know that. I wrote the explicit way and the quote-unquote implicit way, but again, some of these are sevenths, so you still have to kind of write a little bit more information anyway. So here we go. A minor is your 1 minor. Your 4 minor 7 is D minor 7. Flat 6 major 7 is F major 7. Your 5 major is E major. That's the symbol for minor 7 flat 5, so half diminished. B half diminished. So a line with it, circle with a line through it, and a 7. And the 5 7 E 7. 1 minor 7 is A minor 7. 5 7 is E 7. Okay. So if you're thinking about the key of C, this is 6, this is 2, but you still have to tell people minor 7, otherwise they'll just think you mean a triad. Same here, 4, if you just say 4, people might think just 4 major 7. So I guess one way to mitigate that again is just tell people you mean mostly like 7s. So if you say 4, you'd have to know that. You should also know that all majors become major 7s except the 5 chord. Like if you're in major, the 5 chord does not become 5 major 7. It becomes 5 dominant 7. All the minors go to minor 7, like 2 minor, 3 minor, 6 minor. The 7 diminished does not go to diminished 7. You would think it would, but actually it's half diminished. So, and the same thing for minor. Like if we're talking relative minor, like natural minor, they're the same chords. The harmonic minor is a little different though. So if you were writing in harmonic minor, you'd have to quantify like the 3 chords, like a flat 3 augmented, and your 7 chord is actually a diminished 7, and your 5 is like a dominant 7, that kind of thing. Okay, so just to kind of tie this together, I'm not going to play all of those chord progressions, but what I would suggest to you is that you start to train your ears to hear this. And the way I would start doing it is start by playing major scales. So if I play a C major scale, and start singing the notes. So sing the first note of the scale. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So then learn tendency tones. That's like re, do, fa, mi, la, sol, ti, do. So that if you do, this is like the movable do system. So you assign each note to a solfege syllable, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So the first step is to hear the notes, and then you can start playing the chords. So if you play let's say I play the notes or the chords in the key of C major. C major, I'm just going to do triads, D minor. That's your 2 minor. Your 3 minor is E minor. F major is your 4. G major is your 5. A minor is your 6. B diminished is your 7, and C is your 1. Okay, so if I do, let's say I'll do some sequences. So if I just do like 1, 4, 5. Do, fa, sol, do. Okay, if I do 3, 6, 2, 5. Let's say I do 6, 4, 5, 1. So 6, 4, 5, 1. Okay. So, and when you look at chord progressions, like take any of the songs that either you've written, well, I mean, I would think, you know, if you're writing tunes, maybe you already have a good sense of this stuff, but if you're looking at other people's songs, even ones that you've never really stopped to think about, take a look at the chords and try to analyze like how the chords are functioning in relation to the root. Okay. Okay. So just to wrap up this part of the video, I thought I would do a rundown of the chord progression I started with. So this is a sequence I wrote. It's in the key of G, and I'll go down the chords slowly. So we're starting with the 1 chord, G major, bass note to the 2 minor, A minor, like that. Line 2 down to the 1 chord, G major. Now this is the first chromatic move, sharp 1, diminished 7. Sharp 1 makes sense because it's going up, okay? If it was going down, like if I started on the 2 and I went down to the G major, it would make more sense to call that flat 2 diminished 7, but because it's going up from G, that just seemed to make more sense. And often, yeah, that's what diminished chords do. They often connect chromatically, usually step like a half step up, sometimes half step down. In this case, going from the 1 to the 2. Often it does connect 2 diatonic chords of the key. So moving on, line 2, bar 3, the 2 minor. I might have played it as minor 7, like that. And then the 5, 7 with 9. I think when I played it, I did a little chromatic sidestep. So if you just said 5, somebody would think you might just mean the 5 major or something like this. But even if you said 5, 7, that doesn't tell anybody that you also want the 9. So you'd have to say 5, 7 with 9, or at least have a discussion about that before you play the tune, that, you know, you've got that tension in there. And then 6 minor 7. And again, if a lot of your chords have tensions or sevenths, let's just say, if there's a mutual understanding with band members that, you know, when you say 6, you mean 6 minor 7, totally cool. And in this one, 6 over 5, so that's the 6 minor is the E minor, the 5 is the bass note, so D, And that's a stepwise, a lot of times that's why inversions work well, is they are connecting one chord to another with like smooth bass line stepwise motion. And we're going from 6 down a step to the 5, and that's going down another step to the 4, down another half step to the 3. We talked about this earlier. Some songs don't use 3 minor. They use the 1/3. It's a little brighter. So we need a way to separate the two. 1/3 is the 1 major over 3 is the explicit way. If again, if you had a working understanding that if you every time you say 3, you actually mean 1/3, that works too. So the last line, the 2 minor 7, up a step to the G over B, the 1/3. And I think I played C major 7 for the next one, 4 major 7. Another stepwise bass motion, chromatic, up a half step to sharp 4, diminished, sharp 4 half diminished, sharp 4 minor 7 flat 5. That's kind of a modal chord move from Lydian. And that's going up a half step to G over D. There it is. I can play, honestly. It's not an easy chord to get. And then the 5/7. And then the G. Okay, so I wanted to show this to you because this is an example of, it's not just your basic diatonic chords. There's a few things that are different, like the inversions. There's some chromatic movement. So if you're using the number system, if you had to transpose this, you have to include that information. Like there's a 7 on this chord, there's a raised 4, sharp 1, and then the inversions, you got to quantify the chord with the bass note so people know what you're talking about, including yourself. If you're writing out or trying to learn one song that maybe you learned it in one key and you got to transpose it, you have to think of all those details. Okay, so there you go. All right, so if you like what I'm doing, please subscribe to this channel. And if you want some further reading on the number system, you can head on over to my website, SeanMeredith-Jones.com. And in the resource section, I have a list of blogs, and this one, How to Write Modal Music. This is based on really using the number system to its fullest extent, let's just say, because writing modal music has to do with understanding chord functions of major scales, and then you're going to alter some of those notes and alter some of those chords to get different flavors. So what I did was I wrote all of the modes of major with the Roman numerals and all the modes created from major, and then harmonic minor, its modes, and melodic minor, its modes. And the idea is that if you're writing a song in C major, for example, maybe you want to throw like a 1 minor major 7 in there, or a flat 6 major 7, or a sharp 4 minor 7 flat 5. So I had a little bit of that going on in the first example of this video, but this is a huge reference. So if that's of interest to you, please check it out. And if you like personal lessons with me, you can do it through the website. I do live guitar lessons, the live one-on-one online through Zoom. And lessons start at $27 for half an hour, and they go up from there. In the course section, this is a list of the courses, or let's just say topics that I am good at teaching. So if you want to learn tunes, that's cool too. But if you want to have your own voice, that's kind of where I would say I specialize. So you can take a look at the subjects, and if anything is of interest, just click on through and you can sign up right through the website. If you have any questions, there's a chat box over here. And if you just type in your information and your question, I will get back to you as soon as I can. So thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day.